Well, let me express my appreciation for giving me such an occasion. My name is Shishido. Nice to meet you all.
事故後を話すのを
After the
今まで主
accident,
に妻の方に任せてきたので、
I have asked my
実的に
wife
は初め
to
てとい
make
う
an
ことでと
official
ても緊張
presentation
しており
like
ます。
this, and actually,
その
this
分
is
を
the
少し
first
割り
time
引いて
for
いた
me
だける
to
とあり
make a
がたいで
public
す。なお、
presentation. Therefore,
私
I have
に
tons
何
of
か
butterflies
興味を
in
持
my
たれた方が
stomach,
いらっしゃ
and
いましたらば、
sorry for that. And
お名前、フルネ
if
ーム
you are
で
interested in my
Twitter さ
talk,
れていた
you
だけ
can
れば送りますの
you
で、
can find in the Twitter
もしリン
by
クのよう
using
な
my
方は
name
そち
as
らの方を
the
ご覧くださ
searching
い。
key.
それ
And
から
if you
ちょっと
want
格
to
好を
listen to my talk
する
more,
という
please now find out
どこか
me
ら関わり
in
が
the
始まったっ
Twitter.
けなということ
Now
を思い
I
出しまして、
reflect the way
こ
I
れから一つ
encountered the
昔話
science. And in order to
方面に
introduce
ありますね。
how I got an
通訳の方には
interest in
標準
the
語で、元文を言っていただきま
science,
すの
I'd
で、
like
日本
to
語でお聞きの方
introduce
は少
the
々
old
お我
talk.
慢ください。
And now I'm
じゃ
the
あ、ざっと昔
going to
話を
talk in the
はい
Fukushima dialect.
昔か
Let
ら
me talk
い
about
ただく
old
と、
times.
まあ、次
Once
か
upon a
ら
time, it's
長
well
い
known
1
that
ヶ
the
月か
people
な、
in Date and the
人
people
々
in
が
Soma have
英
been
語まで
at the strife
オラが里の
each
あら
other.
美しい
Not
っつっ
only the
て
human
お互
beings,
い
but
に
even
やったんだ
frogs
ぞ。
insisted that
じゃあキリンご
my
とスケッペがなっ
village
て
is better and
教
more
会の山
beautiful
さ登
than
っ
yours,
て
and
願い
both
が
of
ば
them did not
我が目で見
compromise
てみることにした
at all, and they tried to
一
bring
斉と
this
一斉
argument
で
to an
どっ
end,
ちも
and
立ち
they
上が
got
って
onto the
遠
boundary
くの
mountain
里ご
to
と見てみ
see
たんだ。
the villages
し
each
たらこ
other
れ
on the
キリ
count
ン
of
ポの皆こ
one,
こ先に
two,
見して
and three. They have
だから
observed
向
each
かい側
other's
に立ちし
villages,
て
and
我が
you
の里
know
のこと見ちまっ
the
たんだ。
frog's eyes are
な
at
る
the
ほ
back
ど
of
おめえらの
their
とこも長々
heads.
美しいんじゃねえ
Therefore,
か
they
となっ
believed
て
that
喧
they are
嘩や
looking
め
at
たん
the
じゃない
opposite
かい
counterpart
と
village,
い
but
う場合
actually
の
they
お
are
い
looking at their own village, and they said
さ
that,
てお
okay,
そら
your
く
village is really
福島
beautiful.
県の
And
外に
then
生
they
まれ育
stopped
っ
to
た方
quarrel.
は
Now, those who
違和感な
are
く
born
これ
and
が
raised
方言だ
in
と
the
お思いになっている。
non-Fukushima area, you
逆に
believe
福
that
島
now
県
my
で
talk
過
was
ごした方は
told
どこかに違和感を
in
感じたはずです。
Fukushima dialect.
私は
However,
作為
if
的
you
に
know the
複数の
dialogue
場
of
所の方言
Fukushima,
を混ぜまし
you
た。
find the
ですからこれ
uncomfortable
は
feelings
ど
because
この
I
昔
mix
話
up
でもありません。
more than one dialect. Therefore, this
で
is
すが
actually not
福
an
島県外に
old
いれば
story in
これで美しい福
Fukushima
島が
dialect.
出来上がってしまいます。
However, you assume that now
福島
what
という
I
ものは
gave
何な
you
のか
is a beautiful
も
old
う一度考
story
え
in
ていた
Fukushima.
だきたい。
However, I
話
want
自
you
体
to
は
think
昔からあ
about
る
what
昔
is
話
the
で
accident and
伊達
what
の帰
is
り
the
と外の
story.
帰るという
This
わ
is
け
a
で
really
ちゃんと
actual
昔
old
話の
time
方の
story.
練習法に
There
も
is
載っている
the
お話です。
actually the
私はもともと
the
昔話や民話
stories
を調べた
they
り研
compiled
究したり
in
と思っ
the
て
Zen
日本
Buddhism
語学校に入り
sacred
そして、結果
scripts.
的に国語の教員になり
And
なっ
then
た後
I
は
became
そういう
a
ものからな
teacher
かなか
of the Japanese
関わることがで
language,
きずに
and I
かろうじ
didn't have
て、
many opportunities
福
to
島県
be
の首都、
involved in the science,
伊
but
達市の
I
現在
barely
にある
worked for
それから
Fukushima,
郡町
and
飯舘
there
村
is an
の民話調査
Akoli
に参加しております。
Machi and
ですからそこ
Idatemura
の昔
villages is
話には
where
私
I
が参
was
加したものが
involved
載っ
in
て
the
おりま
old
す。
talks,
そ
and
の他いろい
some
ろな
of
お
the
ざまみそ
stories
とかに聞かせていただきます。
were my work. I happened to
そこ
be in
で
the
見つけた
Zamami
のは
village in
複雑な
Okinawa
多様
in
な
terms
福
of
島
the
です。
old times, and I
だけど
found there were many
今語られ
aspects
てい
in
るものはあ
Fukushima.
まりにも
But
よ
what
ってなか
people
った。
are talking about Fukushima
皆
right
さん
now
の
is
話は
really one
どこか
face.
どこまでを
Speaking of
考えているかとい
Fukushima,
うのを、
what kind of
ちょっ
associations
と
you
こ
may
の話の
have?
中でも問わせていただきます。
I'd like to
私のテ
ask
ーマ
the
は
questions in my
福島県の
presentation.
学校
The
は
topic
子
of
ども
my
を放射線物質か
presentation
ら守る場
is
所 という
whether
ことです。
Fukushima Prefecture
サブ
tried
テ
to
ーマは
protect
ポリメ
children
リ
in
である
Fukushima
4
from
つに絞り
the
ました。
radioactive
本
substances
当
and
は
other
もう
subtopics, as you can see
48
here
時
on
間
the
でも
screen.
72 時間でも喋りたいだけの
I'd
こと
like
があ
to
るんです
talk
が、
about the
あえ
24/7.
てここだけに絞らせてい
However,
ただきま
let
す。
me focus only on these
サブ
four
テーマはそこに
topics.
ある通り、
As you can
中通
see
りで
here
の放
as the
射線物質
sub-themes,
注意喚起そのものが
was
まず
there
彼らは適
heads up
切
for
に事故用
radioactive
法を行動する
substances in Nakadori in
事故発
Fukushima
生直後の
Prefecture?
放射性物
Has
質
the
への
mass
防
media
護と呼びかけ
reported
は
on
十分
accident
あったの
radiation appropriately?
それから
Was
結果
there
的には
an
二次
adequate
企業
call
プラ
for
スアルファ
protection
で
from
収まるような
radioactive
難治験
substance
は適
immediately
切なもの
after
だっ
the
たのかという
accident?
ことで、
Was the
話していま
designation
す。
of evacuation
ま
zone
ず原発事故が
appropriate?
発生し
These
た
are the topics I'd
2011
like
年
to
まで
focus on. In
私は福島市
2011,
内の
when
高校に
311
勤務していまし
happened,
た。
I worked at the
県立高校
high
の対応
school
は
in the
テレビや
Fukushima
新聞で報道
prefecture.
されていることと
What
は
the
全く
Fukushima
違います。
prefecture's high schools
私
and
たち
junior
教
high
員は
schools taken are
それ
totally
どころではあ
different
りま
from
せん。
what you heard from
被
TV
爆
and
を減らすよう
newspapers.
に呼び
We
か
were
けてはな
not
いない。
talked about
政府
the
が被爆を減
radiation,
らすような工夫
and
を
we are not allowed
特に
to
行うこと
call
も
for
事実的
the
にでき
reduction
ま
of the
せんでした。
exposure. In addition to that, in classes and the extracurricular activities, we were not or allowed or freely talked about the radiation and accidents. So historically speaking, Fukushima was scattered around and it forcefully became one prefecture, meaning that there is no unity in Fukushima. Therefore, for example, you know the Fukushima prefecture character Kibi-chan. However, this character was imposed to have a logo or character when the national athlete competition was held. And if you do that, it's inevitable to get a complaint. And that's why there was no distinctive characteristics in the features or faces of the character. For instance, Hamadori in Fukushima Prefecture, most of the affected areas are located in the Hamadori. Not so much development has done, and this is a really remote area with lesser level of development. That's why they had to rely on the energy industry. The other region is Nakadori. This is the core of the Fukushima Prefecture. Therefore, all of the administrative services were concentrated in Nakadori. Then the third region is Aizu. One of the popular TV programs of Yae, the cherry blossom of Yae, featured Aizu. However, it's not this area. There were children in the past tried to protect the castle of Nihonmatsu. However, they were used as the human shield. It's really disaster. However, this fact was not known because of the poor advertisement and promotion. Iwaki and Soma have a different story also, although they were both existed in Nakadori. And if you look at the Hamadori, Soma, Futaba, and Iwaki are included in this region, and Futaba was the most affected area in 311, and Minami Soma covered both Minami Soma and Soma. However, in the one big reform, these two were artificially incorporated into one, totally different or ignoring the emotions of people living there. Therefore, there is no unity at all at the psychological level of people. It's not a responsibility of the residents. However, it's due to the administrative work. Fukushima, Koriyama, Shirakawa, as well as many more cities and villages existed. For instance, Aizu, Central Ring, and Aizu Wakamachi. This is the area surrounded by mountains, and there are areas where development work has been done quite a lot, and there's another area, remote area, with heavy snowfalls. Even in Edo period, it was totally different. For example, that city where I lived at one point, it was a territory of Matsumae Road. Sometimes it was controlled by the federal government, and sometimes it was controlled by the royal family. And the 15 years ago, it was united into other villages, and sometimes it was peeled off from the original village. And it's bloodshedding fights conducted in the area. However, there was no detailed known because there's no record, there's no research is conducted, and there was no plan to identify what happened. So this is really a forgotten fact. However, people they had hold the grudge over this history. Now, let me share the current status of the education school education in the Fukushima Prefecture. Most of the students go to public schools. Not so many of them go to the private schools. Therefore, the parent voices and the resident voices can be easily reflected to the actual the operation of public schools through the Board of Education. For example, there is the voice from a mother that the students have to wear the long sleeves and trousers while wearing a mask, and then that request immediately implemented. And most of the high schools, the prefectural students, and sometimes the policies of the prefecture of Fukushima is prioritized by the ones necessary for the school operation. Now, this is the expansion of the evacuation area
after the 311. It's expanded more and more, and then finally it's expanded to cover the 20-kilometer radius. I was at the Futaba High School, and it's quite close to the NPP. Therefore, once accident happens, we have to evacuate, and this is a designated area for evacuation if trouble happens. And I remember there was a talk among teachers, and we talked that there is the official plan for evacuation within the 10-kilometer radius. However, now policy is expanded to cover 20-kilometer radius. Therefore, we assume that the severity of accident was really high. And that's why such a wide area of evacuation area was designated. However, the Hamadoli and Fukushima Prefecture Administrative Office's response was that why the instruction was given one-sidedly without any consultation as to the severity of the accident was not shared with the heads of the villages and cities. We had worked so hard. Teachers worked so hard. For example, I met with the city mayor of Itate village several times, and I know he has cherished and valued the local residents and communities. I know them, however, he didn't know the severity of the 311 accident, and because of that, it caused the dissatisfaction and antagonistic feeling against the destruction and designation by the government of Japan, and this has led to the distrust among the people living in the Fukushima area. Then what happened to Nakadori and Aizu regions? They were quite independent. They were so autonomic to determine to accept, for example, evacuees from the affected areas. And the people coming from Hamadoli were also accepted by the Nakadori and Aizu, but no, this is all what they could do. 311 Fukushima Prefecture had the lowest coverage of the earthquake insurance. I got my home, therefore I covered my home under the earthquake insurance. Before coming to the earthquake, I was in Kobe, where the Awaji great earthquake happened. Therefore, I know wherever you are in Japan, there are always a risk of earthquakes. That's why I got the insurance, but not so many Fukushima people did do that. And then at any rate, they tried to accept evacuees. However, it was not sufficient as requested. However, there is no budget and there is no uh, possibility of receiving services or relief materials. And however, the Nakadoli and the people believed that they help out affected people. The local government have just followed the government of Japan instructions, and there's no action to protect because they believed there was no such necessity. Therefore, once they were forced to evacuate, on one hand, and the local government who had accepted evacuees suddenly, both of them did not have the necessary information. That's why such a mess happened. For instance, immediately after the start of evacuation, Kawaguchi village had a poor communication or connectivity through mobile phones because the mobile phone company could not make much profit because of the small number of population, and the blackout happened and the evacuees from Tomioka village came, and there was no communication by the government of Japan or by neighboring local governments, and that confusion has prolonged. And then what happens to the prefectural level? The prefectural building was damaged by the earthquake, and they could not establish the headquarters because of the damage incurred to the building of a prefecture. The headquarters was not established, and this was not communicated at any rate because of the damage incurred to the prefectural government office. They established the head office for the earthquake
tentatively in the neighboring building. However, there was no infrastructure for communication. Therefore, they could not collect enough information. And maybe they used this as an excuse not to be able to disseminate the information. Then the Unit 1 exploded. Mass media captured this fact immediately. However, it's not disclosed to the general public. And back then, very severe accident happened. That is, newspaper, TV journalists, and radio journalists, including nationwide broadcasting outlets, there was an order uh, to evacuate. However, there were residents remaining in Iwaki City, and there were residents remaining in Minamisoma. However, they observed all of the journalists running away from their areas. However, this fact has yet to be disclosed because they are the one who ran away from this area first. Still, you can fill the gap. For example, they can broadcast to people, evacuees coming to Kobayama as well as other areas, and they can fill the gap. And then the local TV outlets and the newspaper companies did not admit that there was an order to evacuate, leaving all of the residents left in affected areas. However, citizens knew that they were discarded or they knew they were abandoned. And that's what happened 3 years and a half months ago. And then the following day, March 13th, the Kizuna, Fuko Recovery, and the Be Strong. These slogans were repeated over and over again through TV and radio broadcasting. And for instance, if you look at Fukushima Minyu, one of the major local TV outlet said that the startup Fukushima without being beaten by the disaster. This is the official slogan actually. And what happened to the Miyagi prefecture, if I use the Kahoku Shimpu as an example, the message of overcoming this difficulty together, and this was featured on the following day of March 13th. And then the explosion happened on the 14th of March, and then the prefectural government said to TEPCO that the TEPCO had to announce that there was no negative health impact to the resident.
Government said that's not necessary. That announcement is not necessary, which means that rather than TEPCO, the power company, it was the Fukushima prefectural government who requested the declaration of safety, which means that the Fukushima people were abandoned by their own government. The Fukushima prefectural government and the educational board made a decision on the 14th of March to actually undertake, according to the schedule, the announcement of the results of the Fukushima prefectural high school entrance exam results on 16th of March at noon. That applies for Nakadori and for Aizu region. They did not make any schedule change despite the explosion of the Unit 3. They did not change the decision despite the widespread contamination that was observed on the 15th of March. At that time, we had 20 microsievert per hour or higher contamination, and this is an air dose that was detected in Fukushima City. At that time, the media repeated numerous times that there's no impact to health unless you live within the 30 kilometers. As for the announcement of the entrance exam results for the Fukushima Prefectural High School, well, there's some unique aspect of this, so I'd like to explain briefly. So the announcement is undertaken outdoor. The person, the student, him or herself must attend, which means that the premise is that the student, him or herself, must attend, and everything takes place outdoor, which means that numerous people had to be outdoor on that day. How was the situation on that day? This was the official map that was released by the government. Right before the 16th of March, staff meeting took place among the teachers, and I participated in that meeting as well. And the decision was made that we will undertake the announcement as scheduled and as usual. I asked some questions, but there were others people who asked even stronger questions. For example, art teacher said that it's perhaps better to change the schedule, but other teachers said that it's okay. The prefecture, the government has decided, the Board of Ed decided. Therefore, without any warning whatsoever, the announcement took place of the test results, and everyone was irradiated due to rain and snow. And we complained that how do you know the actual air dose or the contamination level unless the actual measurement has taken place? Now, the famous Professor Yamashita has claimed that if you live beyond the 30-kilometer radius, you can live as usual. Up until 100 millisievert, there is no impact to health whatsoever. That has been his claim. Professor Yamashita has made this kind of conclusion regarding Chernobyl. The total number of deaths was 30. There was no one else died because of Chernobyl. I know that you know very well that this is a big lie. But however, it was Hiroshima and Nagasaki who admitted and who accepted this conclusion of Professor Yamashita. Now, in the high school in Fukushima, the outdoor activities also resumed. Professor Yamashita again commented regarding this that the only threshold is 100 millisievert per year. In fact, the parents of the children actually who will be participating in outdoor activities must send and sign a consent form that they have understood the words of Professor Yamashita. And furthermore, some teachers actually insisted that if you really train yourself and make effort, you will be strong enough to combat radiation. Well, you know very well that there is no such thing. And then furthermore, the Vice Minister of the Ministry of Education, Vice Minister Suzuki, made such testimony. He said that I have never heard of such a thing, that I have been actually instructing the educations and schools to abide by the principle of ALARA as low as rationally possible. And so he made a false testimony when he was interviewed by the committee on the investigation of the accident. Now, the schools resumed their ordinary activity in Nakadori and Aizu area as well. And the safety of various areas, including the school facilities, commute route, etc., was not confirmed or checked. My child is in a junior high school, and he was bullied as well because he was concerned of the situation. Now, the swimming lessons and classes also were not resumed in Fukushima, but that was not because they wanted to prevent the children from irradiated from swimming activities. That was because they were worried that they will be sued by people living downstream if they release and unplug the swimming pool, the contaminated water. Now, in terms of the physical education classes in Fukushima, most of the schools actually rejected interviews from the mass media. Only few schools accepted such interview. Most of the schools have not taken any measures whatsoever, but this was falsely reported by the mass media because they only had very few samples. Now, regarding the radiation protection, there was a notice that has been sent. But still, there are jokes that says that well, I might be irradiated. Well, I might not be able to marry anyone outside of Fukushima. These were the jokes that were made. And in terms of the extra curricular activities and PEs, physical educations, no one felt the need to protect the children from radiation. It was considered to be not necessary. The measurement was taken in only 2 places during a big sports meets. And otherwise, there was no measurement taken and no warning whatsoever in terms of warning to the children. So we cannot say that the law guarantees our rights to protect ourselves from radiation, and the consistent approach and the stance within Fukushima is that it's better not to mention about this right for radiation protection or talk about it. Children are not protected, adults are not even protected less. And that's because Professor Yamashita said that there is absolutely zero impact whatsoever if you are over 40 years old. And he called upon everyone in the audience to just take the mask off from their face. And that kind of stance is still ongoing there. What we really need to demand is that the surveys and tests be undertaken, measurement be undertaken on whatever way that is possible, urine tests, etc. The reason why we do not know, we don't have the information is because nothing is tested and there is no data. And that because we don't know, we cannot claim the right of our protection against radiation. I'm sorry that I spoke very rapidly, but I'm happy to answer any of your questions later on. Thank you very much.